We made it to the town of Ilulissat, which is in northwestern Greenland. It is the third biggest city in Greenland, and they have a population of about 5,000. Join us as we give you a tour of this Greenlandic city and give you insight on how the Greenlandic people live.
I'm Ashlyn.
And I'm Zach.
And we're traveling A to Z.
This week we're in Greenland.
We're now heading to Ilulissat on a little tiny plane. Made it to the little town of Ilulissat. Our first stop for the day was to check into our hotel at the Hotel Icefjord. As you walk in, right off the lobby, you have a gorgeous restaurant. This is the view from the Icefjord Hotel. Amazing view. Look at the icebergs just while you have dinner or breakfast. We're gonna head to our room and check it out. We're in room 215. As we walk in, we have a little sitting area and we have two twin beds that they push together for a king bed. This is their little bathroom. So you can take a shower and watch the icebergs go by. Shower! Look outside, watch the icebergs, watch the northern lights, shower! How cool! We have a skylight. Okay, how amazing is that skylight? It would be even better if we had northern lights, which we're not gonna have because it's like the 24-hour sun. But if you are staying here in the winter with northern lights, you don't even have to get out of bed to see them. Not to mention, you have views that way and that way.
I think this is the best room in the hotel.
It is.
This is impressive.
And our view.
Up this way you see the icebergs, and then if you go over here you can actually see the glacier from the balcony.
What?
Yeah, that's the glacier right there.
Wow. That's so sweet. We definitely got the best view in the whole hotel. Like down below here, right here, that's where the restaurant is. Awesome views. This is our own room though. How sweet is this? One of the cool things is every time you look outside of the window, you have a different view. It's amazing. Our first stop after checking into the hotel is to get some lunch. He got a baguette.
So we haven't eaten in 3 days. This is the first food, and I'm pretty excited.
Well, the other town doesn't have like any food except for like bread and butter and sweets. And so, yeah, we haven't had like real food. So this is probably one of the most unusual but amazing sandwiches. It's on a bagel and it has chicken. And then inside of it has peas, corn, carrot, jalapenos, a chipotle sauce, a mayonnaise, and lettuce. So good. It's a spicy chicken bagel sandwich. Hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate's gonna be delicious.
And nachos, because why not? After a great lunch, we now are going to go explore the city of Ilulissat.
So I don't know if you can tell this or not, but we're over the port in Ilulissat, and there's an iceberg in the port. Right there, there's an iceberg.
The harbor is separated into a few different sections. There's the major harbor boats, which are the locals and the local fishermen. Fishing is the biggest industry in Greenland, and almost everyone has a boat. They mainly fish for halibut, but they'll catch other fish also.
And over here is the industrial area where big freight boats come in. There's a state-ran fish factory that was built in the 1970s, which is by the harbor. Because they had a monopoly and were not paying the fishermen well, there was a private fish company that was started. They then gave the fishermen a lot more money, so now the state pays better too. As we're walking around town, we saw all the boats on stilts. We were wondering how they get them in the water. Turns out everyone is hauled by a crane and then dropped into the water. This is the oldest building in the area, built in the 1700s, and it was used as a storage area. And it was right by the pier. This building has a bell in it, and the Danish people used it for time, to start the day and to end the day. Prior to the Danish coming, the Inuits just used nature and light to determine when to do something.
Grocery stores are like a Walmart. They have a little bit of everything and some food. So if you need utensils, or a fishing pole, or a boat, or a bike, or a couch, they have it. And then they have quite a bit of dry food and frozen meats. That's about it. So this store is a little more stocked than the last town. Apparently the last town hasn't had shipments for a really long time of food, so they were lacking. And the things they did drop off.
A really long time, like months, like since last year.
Yeah, for a while. The shipment they did have, they dropped off Coca-Cola and chips. They had nothing else, but they had Coca-Cola and chips. And so we couldn't even find a bottle of water in town. They did have some apples that were actually pretty good. The apples, were probably frozen and then unthawed. So that was pretty much their fruit. Apples and a few oranges. We tried both because it's pretty much the only thing you could eat. And a whole bunch of bread and a whole bunch of frozen meat. But that town, they pretty much go hunting, and they get the muskox and the caribou and reindeer, and that's what they eat on. So I don't know how they could live with like no food. We were there like 3 days and we were basically starving by the end. Luckily we had some backpacking meals that we brought. So far in this town of Ilulissat, there's a lot more restaurants, and hopefully we'll be able to eat, and the grocery store looks a little more stocked, so we're great.
The houses and buildings in the town are very colorful. A long time ago, the colors of the houses indicated the different professions of the town. A dark blue meant a police officer, a yellow meant a nurse or doctor, light blue meant water. So there's different meanings for each color. A lot of the buildings were first built in Norway, and they had little numbers on them, so then when they shipped all the product to Greenland, they knew how to put the houses back together, kind of like an IKEA set. On the building, written in yellow, says H7. During World War II, Germany occupied this area, so the Danish were not able to get supplies. The Danish people then made a deal with the American military to have food and supplies dropped to this area, and in return, America was allowed to set up military bases in Greenland. Each city on the west coast had its own number, so the Americans knew where to drop the supplies. Nowadays, this building is used as a gallery for locals to sell some of their homemade goods. This is a memorial for the Danish explorer Rasmussen. To this day, he still holds the world record for the longest dog sled trip. His goal was to visit a lot of the small Inuit communities and write down the history and stories of their people. His memorial is on top of a hill and has a great view of the city. This is the old and new hospital. It has been built onto over time. If there's any critical patients, they have to be shipped to Nuuk or to Copenhagen. Each house has a water tank. They used to have to go fill it up themselves, but now they have a truck that drives around and fills up their water when their house is running low. They still have some remaining water stations around the town, and the fire station still uses them. This is the oldest church in Ilulissat, and it was built in 1779. There's 2 different dates written on the wall, and that is because the church actually was closer to the water side, but it kept flooding out, and so in 1929, they moved it to its current location. This used to be Rasmussen's house and used as a priest's house. Today, it is used as a museum. In this museum, you could see the culture of the area. Outside of the area, you could see a traditional hut. It's a little modernized because it has a real roof, but it's similar to what it used to be. They would heat the huts up with whale and seal fat. This cement-looking thing is a whale press for oil. These are wives' boats, which is a boat that is used by the wife and children to go to different villages when they are moving to different settlements, and the men will then sail. In 1741, the town was called Jacobshaven, after a trader who lived in Denmark. It's interesting because he's never actually been to Greenland. They then put the name back to its original Greenlandic name of Ilulissat. So behind me, we have a whole bunch of Greenlandic dogs. These are dog sledding dogs. So they're special because once you go above the Arctic Circle in Greenland, you can only have purebred Greenlandic dogs. And they're not pets, they're only work dogs. The work dogs are only for like the dog sleds and pulling, usually during the winter. So you see them all chained up behind me right now, because in the summer they kind of just relax, because it's the winter time that they work really hard. This area right here where they're chained up is outside of the city of Ilulissat, and they cannot be actually in the city because once they're over 6 months of age, they have to be chained up and away because they get pretty aggressive because they're only work dogs. They're not like fun, petting, friendly dogs like we have in our houses. They can, once they're born up to 6 months, be at home and roam around the whole city, but not after that. A long time ago, they actually, the dog sled dogs, the Greenlandic dogs, the older ones, used to roam the city, and you'll actually see some houses that have a big fence around their front yard. It's to keep the dogs out because they used to like be aggressive and bite the kids and the children. So one more interesting fact is there is more dogs than there are people in this town of Ilulissat. So there's about 5,000 people in this town and way more dogs. I don't know how many dogs, but there's a lot. So I guess each family has usually 15 to 20 dogs because it takes a ton of dogs to pull a family. So they say it's about 5 dogs per person. So depending on how many people you have on your sled, that's how many dogs you need. After a long day wandering the town, we're gonna eat at the Inuit Cafe for dinner. We are currently in Ilulissat in Greenland, in Western Greenland, and we're gonna try one of their local Greenland stouts, and we're gonna see how it is.
It's almost black.
And it's not gonna all fit. And it has a cool little raven, which we have seen ravens here. There's like a few birds here.
A raven with a hat.
But we have seen
and
a raven.
monocle.
Okay, let's see. Not bad. Tastes like a stout.
The raven with the monocle beer is brewed with ancient glacier water from the Great Ice Cap. However you say this beer, strives to produce a Greenlandic product of utmost quality and authenticity. Whatever beer is locally produced, which eliminates the import of outside corporation products that drain the island's domestic economy. Local support for this brewery is essential for the success of this Greenlandic-owned company, and we want to thank the people of all nations who choose to support local brands and products. As always, we ask you to drink responsibly and be merry. The raven with the monocle said so.
I got a Greenlandic blackberry smoothie. Apparently they're from Greenland. I didn't know they had berries here. Pretty good. Not sweet. It's kind of yogurty tasting.
That is a whale. I don't know what kind of whale, but it's a whale out of the ocean. One of the few places in the world you can get this kind of thing. It has the consistency of a tough beef. Kind of has the flavor of beef with a weird gamey aftertaste. I don't know. It's good. It's know.
Was it what you were expecting?
I don't know what I'm expecting. It's whale. I've never had that before. I've never eaten any kind of mammal out of the ocean.
Look at it. Look, it does look very...
Yeah,
Show
there's
me
no fat on it.
Wow.
It's very lean.
I tried a little tiny bite. To me, it's kind of a light fishy taste with kind of a gamey taste, but very lean. It's pretty soft. Like, I think it's like it's easy to chew, so it's not like really tough.
Yeah,
It's
no
just
bristle.
smooth. Yeah, no fat. It's smooth. Yeah, that's just chicken on my said I'm boring.
I hope you enjoyed the city tour of Ilulissat. Join us next week as we walk a little outside of the city to go to the UNESCO World Heritage Site of the Ilulissat Ice Fjords. If you enjoyed our video, please subscribe below to follow more of our adventures.